So hey friends, Erica here for a little bit of a bonus episode of SelfKind. Today I want to come to you on a different day. It's Tuesday as this goes live, not Thursday, which is the day that my stuff normally comes out. And I'm calling this a Tuesday Tidbit, a small little episode, bite-sized. I want to share just one idea with you that I hope will be really helpful for the week ahead. So we're going to talk today about acceptance. So acceptance is a big word. I mean, there's a lot of letters in it, so it's a long word, but it is a big word in the sense that it holds a lot of potential meaning, and it's something that can feel very hard to come by. Okay, so oftentimes I use a form of therapy within my counseling practice that's called acceptance and commitment therapy. So acceptance is often a very big part of the work that we do as humans when we are learning to meet ourselves in our full humanness, right? The uncomfortable parts, the challenging bits, as well as the wonderful parts. But acceptance is something that can be kind of hard to wrap our heads around, because when you look at the actual definition of what acceptance is, we think of it through that lens of like our everyday notion of acceptance. Like, yes, I accept your invitation to the party. I accept, I don't know, I can't even think of another example. I accept your invitation to the party. We'll have to do for now. But that kind of implies a sense of like consent, a sense of wanting that thing, right? Like I accept your invitation to the party gives this sense of like, yes, I want to come, right? And when it comes to acceptance in terms of our experience of being human, sometimes the reality is that we really don't want the thing that we're experiencing. So if you're experiencing chronic pain, if you're experiencing grief, if you're experiencing self-criticism, you don't want that, right? Most of the time, it would be very true for most people that like, no, I don't want to be experiencing that. And so it can be very confusing. Well, what is acceptance then in that context, right? Am I consenting to this? Am I saying, yes, I want this? If I accept this thing that's happening to me, is there positive emotion that goes along with that? Like, what actually is it? And when we look at acceptance through this lens of like meeting ourselves, we need a different definition because it's not the same thing as saying yes to an invitation. What acceptance in this context really looks like is like awareness, right? It's awareness of here is what is true right now. And the acceptance part is our ability to be present to that without judging in a way that makes us our own enemy, right? So I think it's unavoidable to judge. I think it's unavoidable to be like, well, this is, I don't like this. Like, I think having that understanding that like, I don't like this is important to recognize that that is probably going to be true even in the midst of acceptance, right? So once we accept something, it doesn't mean that we're like, I love this. We can still be like, I've accepted this. I still don't want it to be my ongoing reality, but I've accepted that this is what things look like right now. And so it's an awareness. It is a presence to, it is a getting in touch with what is true and not trying to fight it, right? Not trying to become like entangled in it in this way that we're like pushing, shoving, fighting, at war with ourselves. But being able to meet our discomfort in that thing with compassion. To be able to say, oh, I see that this persistent pain that I am in is what is true for me right now. And I recognize that it is causing me distress, and I'm offering myself compassion in the presence of that. I'm not trying to fight it. I'm not trying to beat myself up for it. I am simply seeing that this is the truth right now of what I'm experiencing, and I'm meeting myself compassionately there. It is not resignation. It is not acceptance in the sense of, being pleased, right? It's not like, oh, I'm so glad I get to accept this invitation to your party. Like I'm delighted. It's not that. I mean, there might be some examples where that's true in different arenas of our relationship with ourselves, but the example of chronic pain or any kind of emotional discomfort probably isn't one of those. So, and it could be, anxiety as well. It could be recognizing that like, oh, okay, this is the reality for me right in this moment, is that I feel anxious. And so instead of fighting myself, instead of making myself wrong, am I able to meet myself with awareness and with compassion in that truth? Because that gives us options. That gives us ways of then choosing what do we do next. So often this idea of acceptance gets confused with resignation. It is not that. It just means that we're not going into battle in a negative sense, right, with ourselves and the truth of what is happening. Let me know if you've got questions about that. I'm going to keep it short because this is a tidbit after all. But I hope that is some food for thought for you today. And let me know if you've got questions.